Well, for one thing, it helps me in the governance of the diocese because I have four vicars, four individuals who are closer to the action. I try to be as close as I can, but I have to spread myself out between all of Brooklyn and Queens. But they would work, each of them with either 10 or 11 deaneries. And so they're a little more present and a little closer to what's going on. We've always had the vicariate system, and at one point we did have the four vicariates, and for several reasons we've had to cut it down a little bit so that we've had two. We used to have four full-time vicars, so now I've expanded it, but we have vicars who are also pastors. And so in a short period of time we can get together and they fill me in on what are the needs and the concerns. I share with them some of the vision that we're trying to work on together. I collaborate with them on that vision, and it really structures the communication. So we have deans, we have pastors, we have deans, we have the vicars. There's this ongoing communication back and forth. And then within those structures, the various groups work together. We're hoping to bring parish councils together. We have, within the deaneries, we have meetings of the staff. So this is really about communication. That was one of the key things that I heard in the first year as we were listening through the synod. So when we had our synod meetings, communication was one of the issues. And hopefully this will enhance that. Another point that was mentioned at the synod, people, they know that we have to make some changes along the way, but they want to be part of that discussion. And so I'm hoping not to spring anything onto people, but to be able to tell people what we're thinking, what our needs are, what the realities are of the numbers. And following up on that document, some parishes were already doing this, but following up on the document, people are focused in on mass counts. Many of the parishes are putting in the bulletin each week the attendance at the masses the prior week. There are some things that we're going to have to do by necessity that may be a little quicker than we would have anticipated. Some things that are really looking down the road, maybe toward when somebody's retiring in the future. But we're trying to bring together people and at least let people know what's going on. I think a good description would be using the words you said. We're holding our own. In some places, the schools are stronger than before, and in other places, they're struggling to keep up to where they had been. Just this week, unfortunately, not one of our schools, but the Visitation Academy, and boy, they had such a long history in this diocese, and the presence of the Visitation Sisters, even more so, has been a long-standing presence. But the sisters have seen a real decline. They're not able to maintain the monastery, and so that school will be closing. The school did have its challenges in terms of enrollment, and so that's a loss for us on many levels. Anytime a school closes, it's a loss. But by and large, our schools are managing. Some of them do have challenges, and we're trying to meet those challenges. Deacon McCormick has been putting together different teams to be able to analyze. He's working with our finance office to see what we can do. But we really want to invest in strength. What we want to do is be able to say, okay, what can we do differently here? How do we help a school or a parish to do something differently so that they can come through this? Another issue that schools are going to start to face would be the capital issues. We're dealing with buildings, so there's some places they're holding their own in terms of enrollment. And thanks to this dinner, thanks to Futures in Education, we can really assist individual students and their families, and thus help keep the enrollment up. But the next challenge is going to be, we want to make sure that we have good buildings, safe buildings, and we also want state-of-the-art education. I am going to use an image from St. Irenaeus, a bishop from the 3rd century, that I was using last week when I made my Catholic school visits. Saint Irenaeus is famous for the line that the glory of God is the human person fully alive. I mentioned that to our students because basically that's what our schools are about, forming people who are fully alive and who are well-rounded in education, but also have that gift of faith and that gift of the friendship with Jesus Christ, fully alive. And then I look here at the Cathedral Club and its rich history, and it is about being fully alive. We see men and women who are engaged in the world of business, in the world of civil service, in the world of politics and public service. We see people in the different arts and in the sciences, in the medical fields and all that. Good Catholic people. We live in the messiness of the world, in the real world, who are fully alive, but they're fully alive with Christ in their life. And we need to be able to surround ourselves by good people. If we're going to be in the messiness of the world, if we're going to be involved in all the things that are going on and make a real difference, we need also to surround ourselves. We need support from one another. And that's what the Cathedral Club is all about.